I just want to say thank you to everyone if you're listening to the live or the recording, whichever choice or both. We were just having a quick chat here about transitions, Hazel and I. If you're new to these little kind of live streams, they're basically us sharing what we know about bringing some mindfulness skills into the world of adoption and fostering. Whether you're a carer, whether you're, an adopted parent, maybe you're a young person who's listening to this, I don't know, or a professional that's working with kids. And we'll say a few words about you. Hazel, do you want to say a few words about your background first, and I'll say something about me?
Yeah, I started off working in residential services for a couple of years, and then I moved on to supporting children and young people, obviously. Then I moved on to working with a domestic abuse charity for a good few years, again supporting children and young people, and then I moved on to fostering service. Still work with them part-time, and now I have mindfulness within, and I am working on my own as a Connected Kids tutor, but doing my own group work and one-to-one individual sessions as well, all using
Brilliant.
mindfulness.
Thank you, Hazel. And I am, so my name's Lorraine Murray, and I'm the founder of Connected Kids. So I started about 20 years ago with the idea that I was teaching adults meditation, and I couldn't see why we weren't teaching kids and young people. So set up I've got a couple of books published on it now. I've set up a program on it, teach it internationally. It's all online. Some of it's in person. And Hazel came on the course, so that's how we met. And I was really inspired by the case studies that she presented, because she was working with kids in care and the difference that her skills were making to these young people's lives. I was like, oh my goodness, we really have to do something with this, because I am also a foster mum. I have a teenage boy, my foster son, but we've looked after a lot of different children before that, between the ages of 3 and 14. And yeah, so it's been quite an interesting experience, like bringing those skills in. And I just think we do these little live streams just really to kind of focus on something that we've struggled with, and that we've found, well, we've struggled with it, but then we've used some of our skills to help us cope with that struggle and the challenge, and to make it really real for people, so that it's not about having a perfect life. It's about having a life that has its ups and downs, and how we build our strength and resilience to that for ourselves, never mind the children that are also in our care. But we are the models for them, so they will model that behaviour if they see us practicing that too. And I think this is maybe the 6th or 7th live stream we've done now. We've got lots of other ones. So in the YouTube channel, you'll find lots of other ones about different subjects. We choose a different subject each time. I haven't mastered the technology yet to actually answer questions people might put up and post there, but if you do put a question up and it's the recording, or we haven't seen it, haven't answered it live, then one of us will jump in and answer that for you somehow on that post. So we decided to choose the topic of transitions for this one, and I think there's, for me, I think there's always that obvious transition for kids in care, which is the fact that they have moved home maybe multiple times,
Excuse me.
because everyone is, the placement is broken down, or, well, obviously that's why, because it's broken down for whatever reason. But I think there's also lots of mini transitions as well that young people go through that are much bigger for them than perhaps adults realise. And I wanted to touch on that too. Do you want to say anything about the bigger transitions, Hazel, and maybe with the mindfulness skills or whatever?
I think something that came up for me quite recently was, excuse me, tickle my throat there. I think just remembering, that a lot of our young people, even when they move, into adoption placements or foster placements, and things even become permanent and seem settled, I think sometimes we forget the history of the transitions that have been there before. Like you're saying, there could have been multiple foster placements broken down, even coming through, domestic abuse charities and stuff, all those moves, etc. You know, our kids have had to move so often, and I think we tend to forget that because we don't always, as I say, even maybe necessarily ask them about all those transitions that they've had in their lives. How many schools have they had to move to? You know, it's massive for them, isn't it? And, you know, it's no wonder that they don't trust. Well, trauma breaks trust anyway. So, you know, it's just absolutely massive. And I think sometimes as the adults, we forget that, isn't it? And it's trying to remember that and put ourselves in those shoes.
Yeah. I mean, certainly for the kids we've looked after in my own foster son, we're his, I think, 6th placement. He will have been with us 3 years at the end of June, which is really amazing. And I think, you know, this is the longest placement that he's had. And, you know, and it's tricky because he's a teenage boy, you know, it's not like we're getting the easy years, if there is such a thing. But I think that, you know, I think it's one of the things that, you know, if you're talking about whether you call it a mindfulness skill or not, is to develop an awareness of gratitude for their ability to even get out their beds in the morning and put a school uniform on and get to school, whether that's a good day or not at school. That in itself is extraordinary because, like you're saying, if you've changed schools so many times, the fear, you know, that not having friendships and no connections and being the odd one out because you've just come in halfway through a term, or you know, you've not been in the area that long and you don't have that continuous, you know, awareness of those that you're moving into the community with.
I think I remember, you know, I was kind of thinking about it myself last night, and I was thinking, you know, when you go into a meeting, you don't know people and stuff as well. How do you feel? Stop and kind of ask yourself that. I think the worst for me was probably a few years ago when I was had to go and do jury duty at court. And you're going in and you don't know anybody, you don't know where you're going. You know, it's just remembering it. These kids feel like that, you know, as well, that unsettled. And I always think as well, you know, it's kind of like the trauma makes them test everything, doesn't it? And it makes their behaviour, as we know, that, you know, at times difficult, challenging and stuff as well. But it's like being, I suppose, on a fairground ride, a roller coaster, and you know that it's going to be a bit scary and stuff as well. So you're testing that boundary, aren't you? You're testing that thing that comes over you. I know I have. I haven't been on one for years, but that holding on and that, is this going to keep me safe? Is this going to keep me safe? You know, you keep testing it and testing it. And especially if you've had a traumatic event on one of these roller coasters before as well. You're one, like you're saying, Lorraine, it's amazing that you're even getting on the roller coaster, and two, you know, to be able to trust that roller coaster, to go on that ride is just amazing, because that must be what it feels like, you know.
I think so one of the things I've noticed with being in the fostering world is that there is sometimes this, you know, I have to say it actually, with some people I've met, there's a lack of authenticity, and that sounds really disrespectful to them, and I'll explain what I mean. In that it's almost like they want to make everything better for that young person. They've had such a terrible time, and I'll make this better. This will be the one that will sort you out. This will be okay. You'll feel so much better in my company. I'll make everything better for you. And actually, part of moving through trauma is not that. I think part of moving through trauma is to say, oh my goodness, you have had such a tough time. I can't believe you get up in the morning. That's amazing. And you must, and it's almost like adults get very scared of acknowledging the really difficult emotions that's coming up, because they think, I'm just going to poke the bear and it's going to make it 10 times worse. But it doesn't. It actually, what you do when you acknowledge that pain and suffering is to say, I see you and I hear you and I'm with you, and I can't change that, but I'm here for you. And that in itself, when someone says that to you, it's so powerful and so healing. But the only way we manage to do that is if we allow ourselves to really I call it connecting to young people and saying you have every right to feel what you feel, every right. We must honour that. We have to acknowledge you've every right to feel angry and upset, and you've been through so many different things. And what I noticed, certainly when my foster son came to stay, how angry he was, how resentful he was, how life was really crappy for him. And if I tried to say, no, you're okay now, you're here with us, why are you being so negative? That would make it even worse. I sit with him and go, you're absolutely right. It's been terrible. I would never have wanted to wish that for you because you're so important to us. However, I can't change that. So I totally understand how you feel. But my job is to help you with moving beyond that if we can. But, you have to meet me halfway. I can't do it for you.
Yeah.
And that mindful speech, that mindful listening and mindful speech is one of the most powerful things I've ever found in fostering, where, because I've seen, my own foster son has said to me, oh, social workers will just analyse everything to death, and they can read between everything that's said.
Yeah.
They
pick up on body language and stuff
Yeah,
because they're so hyper-vigilant and no authenticity without a doubt. Yeah.
So I think one of the things to do when kids have got those transitions, maybe you've got a new kid come to stay with you, is to sit them down and go, I'm really sorry this has happened to you. I wish it hadn't happened to you. It's terrible. And maybe even name all the things that they possibly felt that they couldn't put into words, and help them acknowledge it, express it. It's not the only time they'll do that, because we've not just sat down with my foster son once and done this. We've had to do it multiple times. But just that recognition it's almost like it's edged him away from who he thinks he has to hold himself as because of what he's experienced. It's like a big protective barrier that's up around him. This is who I am. This is what I've had, all the crap I've had to go through. Nothing's going to change and get better.
You're not going to
When you
trust
start
them.
to just acknowledge that and say, you're absolutely right. I totally hear you. And it doesn't mean I sit there with them and go, yeah, you can talk to me like that. Yeah, you can treat me like that. I make it very clear to him that I'm a human being too. I'm not a verbal punch bag, And I'll say to him, please don't talk to me that way. Why are you raising your voice to me that way? I'm not raising my voice to you. It's interesting, very interesting.
I think it's that, like you're saying, Lorraine, I think so many people want to put the sticking plaster on it. And when it's such a huge gash, a sticking plaster just ain't going to cut it. It's not going to heal it. We need to let the air get at it and feel, and actually heal properly. And I think that the thing I put on our Facebook group as well about our kids need to feel grounded, first of all, don't they? And safe before anything else can happen. And I've been taught that again recently, actually, about a group of young people that I've been doing as well, because I've came in and I was full of, we're going to do this and we're going to do that and we're going to do whatever. I'm going to teach them so much and have so much that they can learn from us and stuff. And, going back kind of, it was just like, oh my God, yeah, I've forgotten the basic principles here myself because I got overexcited. These kids need to feel safe and grounded, first of all, before they are ready to take in any information, whatsoever, because you can blame them at times as well. We want to help them, but why would you trust, So transitions, even going into a group and stuff like that, is massive as well. How do you feel safe? How, you're so vulnerable, you feel so vulnerable. So
I was going to do I was doing it myself this morning, actually, a wee meditation, and there's a really nice meditation I do, which I thought I would do at the end of our wee chat, just to teach people so they could listen to it and, they can practice it. It's almost like, I feel like these kids, in order to feel safe, need their own bubble, they need their imaginary bubble. And I think foster carers and adopted parents and social workers also need their own bubble, but instead of making it out of brick and steel, we can use something a little bit more nourishing and healing. So I'll do that at the end, if that's okay, just for a couple of minutes. Even if you're not that used to, anyone listening is not that used to meditation, it's really it's very interesting, this meditation. It's very, I feel it very therapeutic, let's say, when I do this particular one. But I was going to say as well about, the smaller transitions. So say you got, the big transition is then moving into a new home or moving to a new school and so on. But I also think it's, as I maybe said in a previous live stream, it's about almost being that intuitive, spiritual detective, because you'll get them. I mean, I think this is true of all adults, actually. I don't think it's just to do with kids in care. But we seem to form an expectation that their behaviour should be the same day in, day out, and that they're almost robots. That, why are you so grumpy today? I don't understand, and it's like, hold on, they're human beings like us, that some days we wake up like with a bear with a sore head and we don't plan. And speaking as a premenopausal woman, I really noticed, the impact of hormones and things as well. So, if you're premenopausal or menopausal woman, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you're not, you're a man, then if you live with someone like that, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, you've got these different experiences you're having anyway, and they've obviously got theirs growing up with hormones. But to give an example, the other day, or last week it was actually, he was just in such a kind of grumpy mood, and I was like, what's going on? This is like really bizarre. Now, if I don't practice, I get drawn into that drama. I get drawn into the dynamic, the energy dynamic of verbal table tennis, bip, 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 and it's like, oh, we go nowhere. So nobody wins. So I kind of, I was really aware of how grumpy he was. And sometimes, some of you may have noticed that, it's really down to the fact that they're hungry or thirsty. They need something like that, because it's those real basics, but it wasn't that. And I thought, what's going on? And so there is that, I don't shine a light in his eyes, and it's not the Spanish Inquisition, tell me about your day, like, how's it going? But it's maybe when we're doing something else, like, so how's things today? Oh, whatever, and it's usually when we're side by side doing something else. And he started telling me about, P7s of, there's swarms of them, and they're doing their 2 days of introduction to high school. So the school bus has changed. And my husband and I were talking about this, and he was saying, God, you imagine that, because there'll be a set seating pattern on the school bus. People know their seats, and all of a sudden you've got all these primary sims come on, noisy, excited, nervous, grabbing seats that they're not supposed to sit in, because that's where, my foster son has sat in for the last year, and having to deal with that, the transition. And so that's why he was so tetchy. And so it wasn't, I can't change that. We had a wee mindful chat, and I said, is that what's been happening the past few days? That must be really difficult, because everyone's going to be fighting for their seats and the noise and this. And he went, yeah. And I said, oh, it's so frustrating, and and we talked through all the feelings and emotions that he was having and they would be having, whether I was right or not. But just helping him to reframe that, to see that this is a change, this is normal, this is a change, and everything you're feeling, again, is valid, really important.
I think that's the point, Lorraine. I think because there's so many things you can do, like with transitions for younger kids. There's techniques you can kind of use a bit more, like kind of, when you're doing something, or you've got like the things you can keep in your pocket and stuff as well as a reminder and things like that. I've done it with
what do you mean, keep in your pocket?
Well, like some kids, like these little fuzzy ball things. You can put a smell on it or something, so that they've got that and it keeps them kind of. But with teenagers, it can be so difficult, can't it, to get them, one, to communicate how they're feeling, and two, think about actually trying anything that's going to work as well. And I've suggested to one teenager as well, who it's a transition in some ways, because when she was going out with her friends, and she's only 15, and getting herself into trouble by going out and drinking and stuff as well, and forgetting to come home and stuff, her and I went through a plan, of just kind of, how can you set some timers on your mobile what can you do, you know? And she put a picture of our little niece on our mobile. And so it was a visual cue and you know, so it was a hearing, I'm hearing something and I'm seeing something, and how does that make me feel? And remembering that and remembering, okay, I'm going to go home now, do you know, or whatever, and trying to pull ourselves out, because it's so hard, especially if you've been drinking alcohol or whatever, even more, to be mindful of what your sensations are in your body as well. So trying with teenagers is hard, isn't it? It's difficult, you know, it's not easy with any age, but with teenagers, I think it's even harder.
I think so. Although, you know, it's interesting. You know, although I obviously this is a career I've carved out for myself in the last 20 years, I don't want anyone to think that because I do this, you know, I sit my foster son down each night and we sit and meditate together. That doesn't
Yeah,
happen. You
that's
know,
it.
because I think that first of all, you can't force anyone to meditate if they don't
Mm-mm.
want to. They may have a very preconceived idea. You listen to it might have a very preconceived idea and think we're all a bit hippie and woo-woo, which we're not. We're very practical, and very normal. And you know, I think that
Occasionally normal
and,
for
and
me.
I think that you know, there's that whole thing of just I always call it planting seeds. You know, that you just drop something in, and you can't teach it if you don't practice it. So
Yeah,
you really have to try it yourself and see the benefits. It will help you be a more grounded and resilient carer professional anyway if you do practice it. But it means that they see you do that. And you know, I think that especially if you're going to introduce young people and care to this, you've got to let go of expectations that they're going to do
yeah,
it. I mean, we talk about this a lot in the Connected Kids program anyway, but you really, with kids in care, you've got to let go of any expectations. And so, you know, usually if I've taught him stuff, it's been maybe there's been something happened, and I'll say to him, okay, here's something you might try. Rolling eyes, you know, that's fair enough. And okay, and here's the reasons why it works. So I'll explain to him what happens in his body, his nervous system, his brain, and I know him, and he really likes that kind of detailed explanation. He
yeah.
wants to know the
A lot
reasons
of teens
behind
do,
it.
don't they? Yeah,
Fob me off. Don't fob me off with some woo-woo stuff. I want to know why and how this works. So I'll explain that to him, and you know, so you just sprinkle it in and you practice and you do your best. And he came, you know, a couple of weeks ago. There was something going on at PE, and he had to do something. And he said to me, "Oh, I practiced that breathing thing." I went, "Did you?" And he went, "Yeah." He said, "I was having to do this thing at PE, and my heart was absolutely racing." Now that in itself is a miracle that he notices his own
exactly.
body, because usually
Yeah,
they disassociate from their body. They don't want to know what's going on
yeah,
there for whatever reasons. So the fact he could feel his heart racing was fantastic. There was a signal that his nervous system was going into fight or flight. And he said, I practiced that breath thing. And I think what he meant was either the tummy breath, where you imagine breathing into your tummy, or you just blow out very slowly with the out breath. He said, I did that a few times. That really helped. And I was like, I'm so proud of you. That's amazing, you know. And he doesn't, so no, he doesn't sit down and have a daily or weekly meditation practice, but when he needs it, he pulls
yes,
something
yeah,
out of his mindfulness pocket and goes,
exactly.
I'm going to use this. This is a moment of stress for me. I don't know how I'm going to cope with it. I hear
Yeah,
Lorraine's voice in my ear going, and he chooses to use it. That's the main thing, you know. It's like that's
exactly.
amazing,
You're
you
just making
know.
me think about, I remember always getting a row for sighing as a teenager, but actually that is you calming your own, it's regulating yourself really, isn't it? You're regulating the vagus nerve in your body and stuff. So just taking a breath in and that long sigh is actually doing some good for you as well. It's bringing your whole body back down
It
into
is.
regulating.
It's like switching your computer off and on is what it is,
Yeah,
you know, or your
yeah.
phone off and on. It's like resetting everything so that you're not going to spiral into this like really anxious state. Um,
Yeah,
so yeah, so you know, a few things for you to think about in terms of being aware of transitions, helping young people, you know, either reflect on or you do the reflection for them of how they must feel about it, how difficult that is for them. Like you were saying, Hazel, doing things to
yeah, first of all.
grounding your energy, you know. So
Yeah,
And that's as simple as, your body posture, standing with your feet on the ground, thinking about the whole shape of your body and where you begin and end, and that connection. It sounds so slightly strange and simple, but it is really effective.
It is definitely, I mean, even as I say, just that kind of, again, for teenagers, I've just been saying to them, that kind of the five senses, but the three, even if you can think of three things that you can see, two that you can hear, one thing that you can touch, you bring yourself back at this moment in time. And I know one of the Well, actually, a couple of things are going through my head there. One thing as well is I'm thinking how difficult it is for kids for transitions as well as even if you think about yourself, I'm always kind of put yourself in their shoes. How do you feel if you're watching your favourite TV programme or something and somebody interrupts you or something? That's a transition, isn't it? You're going from one thing that you're enjoying to something else. And for our kids, that's when we see a lot of behaviour difficulties because they're playing with something and they're getting a bit of enjoyment from it, and then we're saying, right, it's time to go or it's time to do whatever, and it's another loss for them, isn't it? Because it's just, I was actually enjoying that. So it's remembering that that's actually a bit of a loss as well for them too,
And that's exactly, I mean, you can't, we're the same, you can't let them play a game forever,
No.
that's setting yourself up for bigger problems later down the line. But when they do come out of that and they feel angry, upset, it's like saying, yeah, I do this quite frequently now. I can see you're angry and upset, and I know you don't like my decision. I understand that, and that in itself, I've seen there's something, it's like a little glimmer of something. It's not it's not changing the outcome in a sense, but it's helping them be seen and the difficulty that they're experiencing, and it's not placating them going, don't worry, you'll play again tomorrow. It's like saying, yeah, it really sucks, doesn't it, when you're doing something you love and you have to come off it. Yeah, well, why do you have to do it? I know it really sucks.
You're not doing
You're
it
not
just to be
trying to
mean.
get drawn into a whole kind of dialogue about, why it sucks and
I know.
why you have to do this and explaining yourself. It's just like, yeah, it really sucks. I get it. I really do.
It does. And I suppose, I mean, it's far too much to go into today because we've got loads of things as well you could do for transitions for contact family time as well. I mean, that is a massive one as well.
I think we'll pick that up as a subject maybe.
Exactly, because that is massive.
Yeah, well, because that is a big one, and that's a big one for everybody concerned. It's one of the most trickiest experiences. I think certainly as a foster carer, my experience has been that's a really, really tricky one. So although that's the turbocharged ultimate transition, that is.
It is. That's a massive transition one. Yeah, everybody struggles. Not everybody, but most people struggle with that one. Completely.
So I think we'll so I hope that that's given you a few ideas just to talk about, look back over the other things. I'm going to do a meditation in a moment. Look back over the other things that we've talked about grounding, some tips and ideas. On every one of these videos we give a few tips and ideas of what we think you can try and do. Hopefully we're not really saying anything hugely different each time, but we're showing you how we take those things and apply them to different scenarios and the benefits we've found by applying them. So that it's real practical stuff, it's real life stuff. And and then the next thing is if you're listening, is to try it, to practice yourself first, and then to see once you've practiced whether you can introduce it, and get the buy-in from the young person you're looking after, and to, just share that experience together. That's not easy, but it is, if you try it yourself, it becomes easier if you're actually practicing. That would be my parting shot. Anything you want to add in, Hazel, for me?
Yeah, I think, learning to do like your first course, learning to create meditations for young people. There's the one with like the space suit and stuff, that you've done as well, and just using these kind of techniques is massive, I think, as well. Really.
Because I'm thinking some will be like, what, a space suit? You get to learn
the golden, was it the golden
space suit? We're talking about imaginary space suits, not real.
Yeah.
It's It's kind of similar to what we're going to do in a minute. It's just creating that personal bubble so that you can feel safe in that personal bubble, regardless of whatever transitions or whatever you're experiencing in that moment. And that personal bubble that you're creating is really resetting the nervous system, the vagus nerve, like you were talking about. It's about the switching the computer off and on so that you reset. That's what it's doing. So we're just going to give you a wee taster of that to see how that kind of helps just now. So we'll do just for like a few minutes, Hazel. Is that okay?
That's fine. It's fine with me. Yeah.
Yeah. So so what we normally do if we're teaching anyone a meditation is to invite you to sit back and to close your eyes if that's comfortable. Now, if that's not comfortable for whatever reason, if you're working with kids with trauma, that can be very uncomfortable to close your eyes. You can have them open, but try and have them open, but without staring ahead or looking at anything. You can be aware of your environment, but the key to this is to really pay attention to all the muscles around the eyes so that they become softer, so we're not hard staring at anything. So even if you're looking at the screen just now when I'm speaking, I want you to just be aware of how you're looking at it and see if you can just widen your gaze, like take in more of what you can see on either side of the screen or the phone or whatever you're looking at. And just blink, remember to blink, and just, relax that gaze a little bit more so it's softer, and even look beyond the screen into the distance a little bit and just like soften that gaze a little bit. And then once you've done that, you just want to start to, we talk about the breath a lot because it's really helpful. It goes with you everywhere. So if you can learn how to focus on your breath. So we talked earlier about focusing on the out breath. So even do a big blowout, a really big long sigh. And as you're doing that, just really feel it and hear it and sense it and just be curious about that, So doing that a few times might make you want to yawn, might make you want to stretch. That's okay. So just blinking and soft gaze, just, nice and relaxed as much as you can. And then I want you to think about the space all around you. So I want you to think about the space in front of you and behind you and to the left of you and the right of you and above you and below you. And then I'm going to choose some words, but you can choose your own words if these don't feel comfortable to you. I'm going to ask you to just think of, I'm going to choose the word peace. So you might choose a different word. It's up to you. Whatever you feel you need in this moment. Might be balance, might be quietness, might be laughter. Could be anything you need. Whatever words feels right to you. It doesn't really matter. But whatever you feel you need in this moment. And as you're just breathing and noticing, I'm going to ask you to mentally to yourself, just silently to yourself, as you're breathing in, just thinking about the word in front of you. So I'm going to say things like peace in the space before me. Just mentally thinking about that. Peace behind me. So thinking about peace being in the space behind me. Peace to my left and peace to my right. So you're just imagining this bubble of space filling up with the energy of that word, peace, or something else you've chosen. Peace above me and peace below me. And you might be visualizing the word or thinking about the word, the feeling of the word. Just imagining that bubble of space all around you. And then I'm going to invite you to bring that word inside you, peace within me. And just breathing and mentally noticing that. Peace in my surroundings. Just thinking about that. Peace to all. And in that moment, you might be thinking about certain situations or people. And every time you think of them, just think about sending them the word peace. That's all. Nothing attached to it, just the word peace, so whatever word you're choosing. And then we're going to finish off with the words I am peace, whatever your word is. Even if it doesn't logically make sense, it doesn't matter. So we're going to do that again, but I'm going to choose a different word this time. You choose your own word or join in with this word. The word I want to choose is love. So as you're resting your eyes, you're just breathing, noticing your body where it is. Love before me. Love behind me. Love to my left. Love to my right. Love above me. Love below me. Love within me. I am love. Love to my surroundings. Love to all. And as you're thinking about those words, just curious about who's popping into your mind and just sending them that word love, just with your intention, just in your thoughts. Nothing else for you to do, just breathe and notice. So I'm going to choose a final word for us to work with, and again you can choose your own word if you want to, but the word I'm going to choose now is safe. So safe before me, safe behind me, safe to my left, safe to my right, safe above me, safe below me, safe within me. I am safe. Safe to my surroundings. Safe to all. And just again, just certain people you're just sending that word to. And you're just curious about your breath again, just curious about how your body feels. And just if your eyes are open, you can blink them a few times. If they're not open, you can let them open. And then you can just think about having a stretch or drink of water. You can unmute yourself, Hazel, if you want. I don't know what it is about that. It's a very, very simple thing. I mean, I've been meditating for nearly 30 years, so I notice things maybe you don't notice, but I really feel the energy of that when I do that. It's partly maybe a distraction technique. Let me explain how that might work. It's partly distraction because it gives you a focus for the moment instead of where your mind might be normally going. There's also something about the movement from left to right, up and down and front. There's something to do with the way our eyes move in our head affects different parts of our brain. So I've got this theory that when I think about different sides of my body, well, my eyes, even though I'm not aware of it, are moving in that way and therefore balancing parts of my brain. You know, that's the best way to put it, my nervous system. And then choosing those words, you know, and working with them, just whether you chose your own word, maybe it changed. Did you change your word, Hazel? Did you?
No, I stuck with the words. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, nice. I don't know why. Yeah, I think there is, like you say, there's just something nice about just feeling that whole protection roundabout. But even we forget about the below sometimes as well. So I think for me, yeah, I was noticing the below as well, feeling safe and grounded.
Yeah, interesting, isn't it? It's a really simple thing to do, and I did it this morning. So I do a different meditation every day, so that was the one that popped in for me. So I just wanted to share it. So anything else you want to share, Hazel, before we finish, or?
Again, we could probably go on for a long time, but no, yeah, I think, yeah, it's a tricky one, transitions, isn't it? But yeah, there's so much in there.
Well, it's life. Life is
It
a
is.
constant
Life is a
transition.
constant transition, yeah.
It is. It's constant. Every time you take a different breath, your the chemistry in your body changes. So, you're never the same person. But it's about learning to experience that and be with that rather than fighting against it. Or in our kids, giving them different strategies to use rather than the ones that they've tried to cobble together themselves because no one's given them any alternatives. So, or maybe the ones they have they don't particularly connect with. So,
I always say we don't have to be therapists. We don't have to be, fully trained therapists to be a bit therapeutic with our
yeah,
children
yeah,
and young
totally. And
people.
ourselves. And
Exactly.
ourselves as well. It's just
Exactly.
about having, gentle awareness.
Hmm.
We'll work on and all that. Well, listen, to anyone who's listening, thank you so much for doing that. I appreciate it. I hope if you have any questions, you can reach out to us either in the post. This will go in the Facebook group. We've got the Mindful Caring and Fostering and Adoption. It'll also, it's on Facebook, and I'll put it on other social media I have. Just the link to it, and we'll put it on our YouTube channel for Connected Kids, and Hazel and I will be available. Won't be doing anything during the summer because it's summer holidays, but we'll probably look to the start of September or end of August or something, put something together for you to listen in
Yeah.
again. And if there's a topic
Definitely.
you would really like us to cover, then please let us know because we'll just keep making things up until something
Exactly.
different. So hopefully it's been helpful. Just a little gentle introduction for some people. And thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, thanks for that, Lillian.
Anytime, Hazel. Take care. Have a nice summer.
Bye.
Bye for now.